once you joined right out of high school. Where did you go first?
So I went to boot camp, and our boot camp's all in San Antonio.
Okay.
And the funny thing is that I came in to be a PJ, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so these recruiters, they get incentivized to get kids to pass what we call the PASS test, which is like a physical fitness test. Hey, this kid can do this many push-ups, and you can run this fast. But out of all those folks that go into basic training, they also get incentives if you make it, right? And so I was one of those kids that was like marked with, okay, he's going to go try out to be a PJ. He's probably not going to make it. He's $135. Like there's no way he's going to be successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I came into basic training that way. Upon graduation, I went straight over to our. It's changed now over the years. Obviously, this is 20 plus years ago, but to our what we called INDOC, and so INDOC is kind of like your version of BUDS. Your guys' process is a lot longer. This is just the entry, right? So it was 10 weeks, and it's all physical fitness. It's all running cows in the morning, and then pool in the afternoon. And so you just do this for 10 weeks straight, and there's all these gates you have to go through. But that was the first big test. Basic training was just an entry. Then INDOC was the actual challenge.
During boot camp, were there any other? I mean, how big is what do they call them? Divisions or battalions?
Yeah, they call them flights.
Flights. And about how many kids are in a flight?
You're putting me on the spot here.
Welcome to Mic Drop.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember how many kids. I mean, there's a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean, a couple hundred.
Yeah, sure.
What were there other kids that were in that same pipeline that were going to be PJs or CCT?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and real bold about it too.
Yeah.
And the kind of kids who were, remember, I'm a surfer kid at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm coming in to try to be, this pararescue guy, and there was guys that were beating their chests and in basic training that they're going to make it and this and that, and I just kept my mouth shut. And I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I won't make it. I don't know. Wasn't super confident, I was just like, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah. When you actually graduate boot camp and then go to that first 10 weeks of the entire pipeline for becoming a pararescueman, is that the highest level of challenge from a selection standpoint? Is that kind of this separates the people that really want to be here from those who don't?
The INDOC, the first course? Yeah.
And beyond that, is there still an element of that
selection?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not really. I mean, it's really training at that point. There's still attrition. Like there's still guys that get weeded out. Scuba school is the other one that was really hard, right? And so we went down to Key West to Special Forces Combat Dive Course with the Army. And so that's a big deal for the Army, right? And especially back in the day.
Yeah.
And so you had all these old crusty, E7s that were guys that I was like enamored to be around. I was like, holy crap, man, these are like no kidding Green Berets,
Yeah.
And I had just graduated 10 weeks. I was nothing. I had no badges on my, I had 2 stripes that they gave me as a gift. And here I am, my dive partner is this, this badass E7, Special Forces guy. And I'm like, that, and so that was the first, kind of, I guess not the first. It's kind of like that was another gate you had to go through.
Yeah.
Because everything else is a gentleman's course. Airborne's a gentleman's course, except running really slow. That's difficult.
Yeah.
Halo and
Did you go through Airborne at Benning?
Yeah.
As I remember when I was there. I mean, we don't go there now anymore and haven't for a long time. It's the same with you guys, right? But back then you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing some of you guys there when we were there. But
the funniest thing is, we go there after scuba school, so you get this scuba bubble, and it's a big deal in the Army. But we're nobodies,
Yeah.
And no one knows what a scuba bubble is.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make any sense when you look at it. But
that's fucking funny.
Just look at goofballs, at Airborne.
Getting yelled at for having your hands in your pockets.
That's right.
During that 10-week selection course, I know you said it's just basically getting kicked in the nuts, but was there a part of it or an element to it that was the most challenging? Like what was to synopsize the hardest part about that? What was it?
Yeah, for me, I was tall and skinny, so you think I'd be decent at running. The runs crushed me. I was good in the pool. I was chill in the pool, and drown proofing sounds so dramatic, but I was like my calm time. I'd go down.
Oh, surfing.
I'd go down, take a piss in the bottom of the pool, come back up, take a breath, go back down. It's like this process, like meditation before meditation was cool, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, they'd have, it's probably very similar to every selection. They have the really fast instructor in the front, and they have the, semi-fast one in the back. And the deal is you got to stay with the guy in the front.
Yeah.
But if you fall behind the guy in the back, you're basically quitting by your actions.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of that for me was mentally difficult. I was like, and I hated running. And going through selection made me hate running even more.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm retired, I went on like a casual jog the other day, and I felt myself looking at my clock, like, what's my pace? I'm like, I don't care anymore. Just go whatever pace you want, man.
That's good stuff. I mean, that's how it ought to be. I'm right there with you. I fucking hate running. I mean, back when in buds, I hated it. And then for whatever reason, I don't know what happened. Like I had 7 stress fractures when I graduated buds. Wow. And during airborne and SQT and all that, they kind of healed up. And then when I finally made it to Team 3 and started to do the team runs and run, swim runs and stuff, it was like something happened. It was like getting kicked in the back of the head by a mule and going cross-eyed almost. Like all of a sudden I could run. Like I'd never been a great runner. I mean, I wasn't bad, but just all of a sudden I became fairly good at it. And then a few years later I got valley fever and lost almost half my fucking lung capacity, and that went to shit. But I've hated running for a long time now, ever since then. Plus, I was 160 pounds back then, and I'm a fair bit heavier than that now. So, but all right. So you go through the tough selection 10-week course. Do you go right to airborne after that?
Yeah. So I went to scuba school first.
Oh, that's right. So
and so
how long
INDOC was difficult in the pool because it was basically like a longer, you call this a pre-scuba course. And so you look at like the Rangers, they would do a pre-scuba course. They went to Key West. SF was the same way. We used to send guys to the buds, the dive portion.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know if a year or two that we sent guys there because we were just trying to figure out how do you get guys qualified to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we go there, finish that. Next up was airborne. And so airborne SEER courses, went to free fall, so at Yuma, which was really fun. I mean, think about that, being an 18-year-old kid. I turned 19 at Yuma, and I never had a birthday in the military before. And I work in an office with a bunch of civilians now, and birthdays they bring cake in. I never experienced that in the military, but my first military experience with a birthday was them duct taping me to a pine tree or one of the palm trees out there in Yuma and leaving me out there. And so then you start to understand, like you're starting to get ingrained in the culture and what SOF is and what teams are and being around adults, you know, because I was still a kid.
Yeah.
I hadn't matured, and you're kind of seeing how to behave and for better or for worse. But yeah, from free fall. Went to, I'm trying to think what was after that in the pipeline. The long and short of it is it's about 2 years long. And so you go to PJ school in Albuquerque, you learn medicine. I'm sorry, that's what I'm forgetting, is that I went to the 18 Delta course at Fort Bragg. And so there was a stint where they sent Air Force guys to this course. And we were kind of like the second test case of this. And the SF guys hated us being there.
Really?
Yeah, and so they still had SEALs going through it. They still had SEAL Corpsmen. So you had SEAL Corpsmen, you had the Air Force guys, and then everyone else.
Yeah.
And they just despise having these young, cocky Air Force kids in there. And I think the SEALs kind of despised them, and it was just all this kind of
everybody fucking hates each other.
Everybody hates each other.
So I'm assuming you said they tried that. They don't do that anymore. The pipeline now. So you have your own.
They bounced it around here and there, but I was talking to some folks about medicine a few weeks ago, and all the medicine that was taught back then, this is pre-war, was all conceptual. It's like, hey man, we think this is how this goes down. No one had really dealt with casualties.
Yeah.
No one had ever been part of a let's say a V-bib blows up and you got blast injuries and people jacked up. Like no one knew how to anticipate those things in training back then. Yeah. And so it's like really old school methodologies. It was all, based on algorithms. And it's kind of run through your checklist, and they would get you the gotcha moments where like, hey, you didn't say, you put on gloves, during your verbalization of this, and they'd fail you for that stuff.
Yeah.
nowadays, the training the guys go to, it's like, man, it's top notch, and a lot of great experiences that have been relayed in ARs, and a lot of really great lessons learned the past 20 years that are continuing to be, kind of demonstrated within those processes.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. So is the actual PJ school now still in Albuquerque?
Yeah.
And is it completely in-house, like the entire medical portion of the pipeline is
so
all?
So the medical's being done by a contract right now. And so it used to be the University of New Mexico, which I kind of always had heartburn just having, it's a paramedic program, right?
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be teaching, combat medicine. And so it's trying to find that balance. The Army's done a really good job at it. Their course there at Fort Bragg is awesome. Yeah. And it creates great medics. But I mean, the guys are still excelling. They're still doing great on the battlefield. And so I think some of that comes, post-graduation when they become, a full-fledged PJ. Are they a lifelong learner? Do they want to continue to be good at medicine? Which I'm sure we'll talk about. But, my role as a rescue guy in the back of a helicopter is very different than my role with a SEAL team, right?
Yeah.
And there's an expectation when you're with a small team.
Yeah.
Your game has to be here, and the stakes are higher.
For sure. Yeah. No, I get that. How long is PJ school as it stands now?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be what? You put me in a weird position right now. I should know this, right? It's probably 2 or 3 months.
Okay. So, I mean, that's still...
All in all, it's a process of about 2 years. Yeah. And that's barring any injuries, right? So a lot of guys would go through their whole first enlistment, have to re-enlist before they even became a PJ.
Yeah. Because
they would get hurt, or get set back.
I guess just thinking of it from the comparison to 18 Delta as an example, I mean, the short course is, 6 months?
Yeah.
The long course is like over a year, right? Yeah. So I'm just curious, I guess the question that kind of pops in my head in hearing that is that, 2 or 3 months doesn't seem like a real long time to get to where, and what would you call that, like an EMT equivalent, or is it higher than that?
Yeah, so paramedic is separate than that. So PJ school is just them doing employment. It's kind of putting everything together because, you learn how to jump out of an airplane at free fall school, right? But that doesn't mean anything for employment as a PJ. You got to learn how to do what we call RAMS packages. And so RAMS, you guys do something similar, I think. You think about like a hard duck, but this is folded up. We jump those things out of the back of C-130s to rescue, let's say a pilot floating in the middle of the ocean. And pushing jet skis out of the back of the bird and doing all those kind of high-speed employment things, but it's taking everything and putting it together.
Like tactically.
What's that?
Like tactically.
And tactically as well. So the ground tactics are taught there. We shot pistols and M16s, through in basic training, but really weren't proficient at anything until, I don't even think I was proficient after PJ school, but then you're actually getting into the tactics. And
So I guess maybe I had it confused. PJ school is not paramedic or medical training so much as it's
employment. It's putting all those skills together. Ropes rescue is a big part of being a PJ, right? And so they do the mountaineering stuff there, do all the confined space stuff. Being a PJ is being a master of contingencies, and really the expectations are significant to say, if you and I are rolling out in something and I'm in a vehicle. How do I respond if I'm QRF? How do I respond to get this vehicle off the X? What do I need in this vehicle, to make sure that if you get shot up, I can pull you out? Do I have HLZ set on the backside? And so it's just this constant like flip book of contingencies, right? And so, and PJ school is just a taste of it because you can never teach everybody this. And you don't really need to because a lot of it's mission specific.
Yeah.
Not every mission is going to be that complex. If it's in the back of a helicopter, it's a little bit more linear, I guess.
Yeah.
That's way to put it.
So you guys are like professional fixers that way, then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of the problem solving crew. So after PJ school, do you go through paramedic after that or before it?
Before.
Okay.
Yeah. And you still do medicine there, right? So if you do an FMP at PJ school, you're incorporating, hey, you had to do employment to get there, and now you're treating this patient. Maybe you're going to rappel him, in a package down the side of a mountain, and then exfil him. So the medicine's incorporated into those FMPs.
Okay, PJ school is the last bit of the pipeline.
Yep.
That makes sense. So you basically learn each block independently, and then at the very end, bring everything together to kind of meld it. So, I mean, it sounds similar to our version is called STT or SQT, SEAL Qualification Training. Once you finish with that, then you go to whatever unit you're going to be attached to. Is it similar to the SEAL teams in that when you show up there, it's like, yeah, you did all that and that's great. You still don't have a fucking clue what you're doing. And now you've got like, really a couple of years of on-the-job training before, you really feel like you have a fucking clue what's going on. Is that
100%?
Yeah.
And there's also some other similarities in the fact that there's two different pathways for PJs. Is that some guys go to STS, so they're special tactics units, and some guys go to rescue squadrons. And so I guess the only parallel I could draw, maybe it's like being an STV guy, vice going to one of the other teams. And
what is the difference between the two? So
rescue guys, their sole purpose is to support air crew, ejecting over bad guy land. And so they're basically internal teams of, I guess it's really an a la carte menu, but they they'll have the guys off the 130 crew to jump in. They'll have guys on helos. If you go to a special tactics unit, you're within special operations. So one is Air Combat Command, which is like, it's the fighting force of the Air Force, but it's not SOF. And so this kind of departure from two missions has created some problems with unity of effort for us. Yeah. And there was a big push to have all the PJs under SOCOM. And so that was happening a few years back, and we're all excited about being under one umbrella. We could, standardize training, we could standardize funding, all these things. And, we had high hopes of what that was going to become for us. But, the ACC and some other folks were like, holy crap, we can't lose this capability. So it's still the same PJ. It's not better on either side. It's just different. I just happened I started my career on the rescue side. So I went to Nellis Air Force Base in Vegas, and I was a rescue PJ. And then I got an assignment for Okinawa, Japan. So I was a rescue PJ over there. And so, I got to do some rescues, some real rescues, which I thought was really cool. But then, I'm sorry, there's a third option here too. The third one is the guys that go to the Guard and Reserve. And those guys, you talk about having big balls. Those are the guys that are doing the civilian rescues. Of Mount McKinley, in the Alaska crew, they're notorious for being, the best mountaineers. The guys out in Long Island, New York, who were doing open, the perfect storm, that was them that jumped into that thing, risking their lives to save, a merchant vessel out in the middle of the ocean. And so they're doing it on a whole different level. And so you kind of have these different pathways of things you can do as a PJ. So when the war kicked off, I decided I wanted to be a special tactics guy. And so that's kind of where I culminated, the formative years, I guess, of my military experience. But
would you say, I know you said there's not really a hierarchy, but it seems like the STS is kind of that's where the guys really want to go. Is that fair?
So there's actually another, I know, man.
All right, so that's the last,
There's another door you can open, but is where I was. So special tactics guys, they'll employ with ODAs. Some of the white side SEAL teams use PJs and controllers. Maybe not as, it's not as prevalent, so it's not a standard. But they incorporate with that, and they also do combat search and rescue for those special tactics missions, right? I'll try not to use a bunch of acronyms, but
too late.
Yeah. So that's your entry into special tactics. So the unit that I was at was the 24th STS. And so that's our tier 1 version. And so I think that, that's where a lot of guys wanted to go back in the day. For me, it was like it was the pinnacle. That's where I needed to be if I wanted to, prove that I was, capable.
What was the name of that one again? The name of the unit?
The 24th Special Tactics Squadron.
If you see a PJ in uniform, can you tell by what could you look at a guy and be like, that guy is a rescue guy, that guy's an STS guy, that
uniform wise you could.
Yeah.
Different patches. But
can you tell just by looking at them?
No. It used to be back in the day, the guys that, weren't in uniform with beards and civilian clothes, you knew where they were.
Yeah.
But now there's no distinction between those.
Yeah. So from the time that you finished PJ school until you went to the 24th, how much time transpired between that?
So I was quick. So I did I had maybe a non-typical route there. I was in Okinawa when 9/11 happened, and I was with a good buddy of mine who, Nick McCaskill, who ended up, we were there for a typhoon party in his house. His family was on the mainland.
Only in Okinawa.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, this is early in the morning, and we watched the World Trade Center fall, and he died years later. He got shot in the head in Afghanistan years later, and I'd never really connected those dots. And I was like, man, we watched this together, and who knew it was going to be such a we knew it was a pivotal moment, obviously, for our nation, but on a personal level, as my friend, I never correlated those two from that moment until a few years ago. But when 9/11 happened, we were kind of pretending like we were at war in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Because it was OEFP is what they called it.
Yeah.
And everyone else was in Afghanistan. And I remember getting the Stars and Stripes over there and reading about what the guys were doing, like these ODAs that were just on the ground, you're shooting 40 Mike in these camps and then running
down
back on
in
horseback.
Zamboanga and down in Mindanao.
So that's where I was.
Yeah.
But I was reading about these guys.
Yeah.
And I was really jealous, And so the only pathway for me, 100% for sure, to get to combat was to go to the 24th. Because everything else was roll the dice. I could be an instructor.
Yeah.
They could say, hey, your assignment's to go to PJ school and be an instructor. Or I could go, some team that wasn't employed there. And so I applied. I put in my package to go to the 24th. And, back in the day, it was like senior guys. It was like guys that had been around for a long time. And, it was very exclusive. And so I came up there and I was 22 when I went to selection. And I remember they used to have these things called murder boards. And it was like, you did all these evaluations, and they, physically, and I was in good shape at the time. My medicine was in a decent spot. I was good at ropes, but then they bring in this board, and it's like, I think back then it was like 8 people. It was insane. And I ran assessment and selection years later, and it wasn't like this, but, and here I am, this, punk kid in there, and they're like, why you? And I'm like, honestly, there's no reason it should be me. Just to be candid with you, I don't have anything to offer you guys, but I'm hungry, I'm motivated, and I want to go to war. And, so I guess they liked my answer enough to give me a chance, but they deployed me before I even went to Green Team. They asked me if I'd deployed to Afghanistan. I just showed up from Okinawa. I didn't even have my gear. I had nothing. And they're like, we'll take care of all that. And I jumped on a plane a week later and went to war, and I was elated, man. This is, culmination of all this training, and here I am, and I didn't do anything to deployment. But it was still a great experience. Yeah.